Hello, this is for ISOL 631 at the University of the Cumberlands. This is Chapter 12 in the Securities Policies and Implementation Issues textbook. And this chapter is an Incident Response Team Policies. No matter how well your data is protected, eventually there will be a breach of security or a natural disaster. It could be the result of a human error, it could be the result of a configuration error, it could be the result of an operating system vulnerability or a host problem outside your control. No information security program is perfect. What's certain is that at some point, most organizations will have to respond to a security incident. The speed and effectiveness of the response will limit the damage and reduce any losses. When an incident occurs, an organization needs to respond quickly through a well-thought-out process. An effective response can control the costs and consequences resulting from the incident. Fortunately, day-to-day responses to security events does not typically rise to the level of a recovery event. However, a security events do have the potential to create outages that require activation of business continuity plan. Whether this activation is due to a security event or a natural disaster, security response teams need to be aware of how recovery plans are built and executed. Well-prepared organizations create an incident response team, or IRT. This team and supporting policies ensures that an incident is quickly identified and contained. It's also the IRT's responsibility to perform a careful analysis of the cause of the incident. Understanding the nature of an incident can help prevent future attacks. An IRT is the first responder to major security incidents within an organization. It's not unusual for an attack to be active when the team responds. To ensure the IRT members are effective at what they do, the organization needs to provide the policies, tools, and training necessary for their success. This chapter will focus on incident response team. We'll define an incident and related policies. We'll discuss how to create an IRT. It will discuss various roles and responsibilities within an IRT. Chapter will examine key activities performed during an incident, and discuss specific policies and procedures ranging from reporting and containing to analyzing an incident. Additionally, this chapter will look at key aspects and documents related to disaster recovery and business continuity. This understanding is high level and foundational in the event of security incident triggers the activation of a recovery plan. Finally, the chapter will review best practices. So the learning objective of this chapter will describe the different information security systems, or ISS policies, associated with the incident response teams, or IRTs. Chapter covers what an incident response policy is, how to classify incidents, what a response team charter is, who makes up an incident response team, who is responsible for actions during an incident, what procedures must be followed to respond to an incident, what best practices to follow for incident response policies, what business impact analysis, or BIA policies are, how business continuity plan policies protect information, how disaster recovery plan policies protect information. So the key concepts include incident response policies, team members associated with incident response, emergency services related to IRTs, policies specific to incident response support services, policies associated with handling the media, what to disclose, business impact analysis policies, business continuity plan policies, and disaster recovery plan policies. We'll explain the purpose of an incident response policy. Again, define what an incident is. Explain various incident classification methods. Understand key components of an IRT charter. Describe IRT member roles and responsibilities. Understand major procedures for response to an incident. Explain best practices for incident response. Apply knowledge learned. Describe a business impact analysis and a business continuity plan and a disaster recovery plan, and describe the relationship between those three. An incident response team is a specialized group of people whose purpose is to respond to major incidents. The IRT, or Incident Response Team, is typically a cross-functional team. This means that people on a team have different skills. They are pulled together in a coordinated effort. In many organizations, the Incident Response Team is formed to respond to major incidents only. Minor incidents are often managed as part of normal operations. When the team is called together, the incident response team is said to be activated. It would not be practical to activate the incident response team for minor incidents. Policy infractions, for example, are handled by an individual manager. Suppose an employee shares his or her password with a second employee. This might occur when a second employee has been approved but is waiting for access to be granted. An incident report may be required in this case, but the incident response team would not be activated. Incident response policy must be clear and concise to prevent ambiguity in the response process. Policy must define what an incident is versus an infraction. The policy must define the criteria for activating the incident response team. There will be a centralized incident notification process so that appropriate individuals are aware of incidents. These individuals can then make a determination whether to declare a disaster. Most important, the policy and related processes must enable the incident response team to respond to incidents quickly. From the point an incident is detected to the point the incident response team is activated, as little time should pass as possible. Organizations cannot afford to be slow to respond to an active attack. So, definition of an incident. An incident is an event that violates an organization's security policies. An incident may disrupt normal operations of an application, system, or network. An incident may result in a reduction in the quality of service and in service outages. These outages may require an activation of a recovery plan. An incident may also result in an unauthorized access to or modification of data. Examples of security incidents include unauthorized access to any computer system, deliberate caused server crash, copying the customer information from a database, or unauthorized use of computer systems for gaming. So, classifying breach by attack vector. The classification of incidents is part of the security policy. The classification approach can be documented as an incident response policy or a standard. By definition, if you have an incident, a weakness in your security has been exploited. By classifying the incident, you can better understand the threat and the weakness. Knowing the type of attack can help you determine how to respond to stop the damage. It can also help you analyze the control weakness in your environment. This helps reduce the risk of future attacks. There's no one standard approach to follow in classifying incidents. However, an industry often adopts similar approaches among companies. The key point is to select an approach that meets your legal and regulatory obligations. There should be an approach that provides sufficient detail to analyze an incident. This analysis will help you improve weakness that led to incidents. So the following are examples of attack vectors. SQL injection. A technique allows the altercation of user-supplied input fields an application uses to build a SQL query. Improperly segmented network environment. Related attacks rely on the lack of partitioning or on isolating high-risk asset on their own network segments. For example, in a flat network, all portions of the network are accessible from anywhere on the network. Breach of one part of the network exposes the entire network to potential access. Malicious code or malware. Programs such as viruses and worms, Trojan applications, and scripts added to the platform without a user's knowledge. These programs can be used to gain privileged access, capture passwords, other confidential information, and destroy or disrupt services. Insecure remote access. Attacks gained access through a remote service such as a point-of-sale device, vendor networks, and employee remote access tools. Then insecure wireless. Attacks access the network through wireless points of entry. The wide variety of networked devices that are now wireless ready has increased the risk in recent years. Such devices include copiers, fax machines, inventory systems, POS terminals, IP cameras, and more. The Federal Information Security Management Act, or FISMA, classifies incidents into the following events on a system or network. Malicious code, code that rapidly infects other machines. Denial of service, attacker crafting packets to cause network and or computers to crash. Unauthorized access, an exploit to gain access. And inappropriate usage. Unacceptable use of computers such as copying illegal software or inappropriate statements in email. It's important to use classification that has meaning to both internal and external stakeholders. In both the Visa and FISMA approaches, incidents must be reported. These breaches are classified within categories that help assess the threat level. Also, they use a taxonomy or classification system as easily understood by external stakeholders. It's not uncommon to find similarities among many incident classification approaches. They all share the goal of providing a common language to describe security incidents. The incident classification is also used to assess the severity of the incident. That is, is an incident minor or major? On this basis, you determine whether the IRT should be activated. What's considered a major incident versus a minor one depends on the organization's view of risk. Major incidents are generally viewed as incidents that have significant impact on the organization. The impact can be measured in several ways. Might be financial, might be measured with regard to disruption of service or legal liability. From a practical standpoint, many major incidents are easier than minor incidents to identify. They might cause effects such as significant number of users unable to process transactions or unauthorized access to millions of customers' personal data. Any incident related to protection of human life is considered a major incident. What's considered a minor incident depends on how much risk the organization is willing to accept. Typically, organizations require a charter before an IRT can be formed. A charter is an organizational document that outlines the mission, goals, and authority of a team or committee. It's important that legal review the IRT charter for any language that might create a liability. Always assume an outside party may eventually view the charter. First step in writing a charter is to determine the type of IRT model to adopt. This part of the charter determines the authority, approach, and deliverable of the IRT. There are several types of IRT models. The IRT provides on-site response. The IRT will be full authority to contain the breach, or the IRT acts in a support role. Then the IRT provides technical assistance to local teams in how to contain the breach, or the IRT acts in a coordination role. The IRT coordinates among several local teams in how to contain the breach. Many IRTs provide on-site response. In this case, the IRT is given complete authority to contain the threat. This typically means an IRT member is on-site with hands-on with a keyboard providing technical support. This IRT model requires its members to have full authority to direct local resources. The IRT members make key decisions in consultation with upper management. The IRT members may be required to have a specific local expert execute a task. However, the expert executes the task under the direction of the IRT member. When the IRT is in a support role, its members become a resource for the local team. The local team has the responsibility to respond to an incident leveraging the IRT skills. This model is useful in limited circumstances when the local site team has appropriate skills to respond to an incident. This model may also be viable when the application or system is very specialized. In this case, the local team is better equipped to deal with the incident. When the central IRT is in a coordination role, it becomes a facilitator among parties involved in the incident response. This model is useful when the response covers multiple geographic regions. In this case, you might have to coordinate with IRTs in each location. In this model, the central IRT functions as the lead to facilitate the immediate response. The central IRT also coordinates the root cause analysis. Roles and responsibility. Most organizations activate the IRT when a major incident occurs. In this case, the management of the process comes out of the information security team. Members outside the security team have normal job responsibilities. In the event of an incident, outside the security team have normal job responsibilities. In the event of an incident, the team is pulled together to deal with the immediate threat. Once the threat is stopped, the team's mission shifts to incident analysis. This analysis determines the cause of the incident and formulates recommendations. Once the final report on the incident is issued, the team is disbanded. An IRT usually includes members of the information security team, along with representatives from other functional areas. Common IRT members include information technology subject matter experts. Information technology subject matter experts have intimate knowledge of the system and configurations. These individuals are typically developers and system and network administrators. They have the technical skills to make critical recommendations on how to stop an attack. And the subject matter experts chosen from each incident response effort will vary depending upon the type of incident and affected systems. Information security representative provides risk management and analysis skills. He or she may also have specialized forensic skills needed to collect and analyze evidence. The human resources representative provides skills on how to deal with employees. Breaches do not always come from outside attackers. When internal employees are involved, the HR representative can advise the team on proper methods of communicating and dealing with the employees. They are experts on human resource policies and disciplinary proceedings or employee counseling. The legal representative has an understanding of laws and regulatory compliance. This person can be a valuable advisor in ensuring compliance. His or her work will involve reviewing incident response plans, policies, and procedures. During an incident, a legal representative can help facilitate communication with law enforcement. This person can examine ramifications of decisions. The representative can also provide expert guidance on legal issues, such as notification of employees or customers related to the breach. Legal representatives can also advise IRT members how to conduct themselves to preserve attorney-client privilege. These investigations are conducted by a legal representative as part of his or her duties to an organization. Communication is considered confidential and not subject to certain disclosure. PR representatives or public relations representatives can advise on how to communicate with the public and customers who might be impacted by the incident. This is valuable to ensure the accurate information gets out and damaging misconceptions are prevented. The business continuity representative understands the organization's capability to restore the system, application, network, or data. This individual also has access to call lists needed to contact anyone in the organization during off hours. The data owner understands the data and the business. As data owner, he or she understands how the data should be handled. The data owner understands the control environment. Because data owners are business leaders, they also understand the data's impact to the business. And management plays a key decision role. Management provides the response policy, charter, budget, and staffing. Management also makes a decision to turn to law enforcement and outside agencies. Ultimately, management is held accountable for the outcome of the incident response effort. So, incident response support services. This is a broad category, refers to any team that supports the organization's IT and business processes. The help desk, for example, would be a support services team. During an incident, the help desk may be in direct contact with customers who are being impacted by the attack. The help desk at that point is a channel of information on the incident. It's vital that the help desk provide a script of key talking points during an incident. Such a script can be very short and only refer questions to another area, or the script can give more detail with the intent of keeping the public informed. These scripts should be developed and distributed by the PR department. The incident response process. There are different steps for an incident response process. First one is plan and train. And this part of it, you would obtain funding, update the charter, select the IRT members, create scenarios, train, and update awareness. Next would be discover and report incidents. So you identify an incident, you open an incident, activate the IRT, then notify leadership. Next step is contain. So you stop the attack and start to gather evidence. Next step is cleanup. That's when you start recovery and try to resume operations. Next step is analyze and prevent. So you analyze the attack and develop recommendations to prevent future incidents. And the last step is report. So you obtain buy-in for recommendations for changes, advise outside agencies and the public, then close the incident. So the business impact analysis policies. A business impact analysis is the first step in building a security response and business continuity plan. Not all security events will require a recovery plan. However, in the event a security incident creates outages, you need to know which processes are most important to the business, provide for their recovery first. You can use the business impact analysis to coordinate the security and business responses to minimize losses. Many business impact analyses are based on building out multiple scenarios. Each scenario assumes a worst case situation, such as that the entire infrastructure has been destroyed or disabled. These scenarios can range from hurricanes to security breaches that create an outage. Security breach scenarios should be part of the business impact analysis process. Main intent of the business impact analysis is to identify which assets are required for the business to recover and continue to do business. This identification of key assets and business priorities can then be used by the IRT manager to drive key decision making during the incident. These assets include critical resources, systems, facilities, personnel, and records. Additionally, the business impact analysis identifies recovery times. Once the data is collected, you need to perform an analysis, compile all requirements, and integrate the knowledge into the incident response process. So again, you look at the identifies recovery times. You use it for information security and non-information security purposes. You use it to identify adverse effects on your organization. You also use the business impact analysis to identify key components. Also, key objectives of the business impact analysis policy is to identify resources required to recover each component, identify the human assets needed to recover these components, and identify dependencies such as other business impact analysis components. So business continuity planning policies. So the business continuity plan policy creates a roadmap for continuing business operations after a major outage or disruption of services. The business continuity plan policies establish the requirement to create and maintain the plan. The business continuity plan policies give guidance for building a plan, includes elements such as key assumptions, accountability, and frequency of testing. Business continuity planning policies must clearly define the responsibilities for creating and maintaining the business continuity plan. The business continuity plan identifies responsibilities for its execution. The plan must cover the business support structure. The support structure includes things like facilities, personnel, equipment, software, data files, vital records, and relationships with contractors and service providers. When you must have minimum downtimes, the business continuity planning and documentation must have a high degree of precision. But suppose a recent risk assessment has identified serious control weaknesses based on poor physical security in a vendor's facilities. Well-defined business continuity plan policies will require a gap analysis along with the risk assessment. This approach allows you to assess the vendor weaknesses as part of the business continuity plan process. These weaknesses can become scenarios discussed in the BIA. In this example, you may choose to continue to strategic relationship. Consider how to mitigate the vendor's physical security risk. As previously mentioned, the BIA is the initial step in the business continuity planning process. The purpose of the BIA is to identify the company's critical response and assess the impact of disruptive events. The required desired results of the BIA include a list of critical processes and dependencies, a workflow of processes that include human requirements for recovering key assets, an analysis of legal and regulatory requirements, a list of critical vendors and support agreements, an estimate of the maximum allowable downtime. So best practices in incident response. Incident response policies recognize that an organization needs to build strong external relationships. These policies need to identify which role is responsible for maintaining these relationships. For example, the legal department often maintains relationships with outside law firms. The IRT may wish to establish a formal contract with a consulting firm that specializes in incident response. These firms can provide a depth of knowledge on specific attacks. Such knowledge may not be available within the organization. Because consulting firms respond to multiple incidents across many customers, they are able to respond to incidents rapidly. Incident response policies and capabilities need to be tested. Testing can also act as training for the IRT. Training ensures the staff has the required skill set to respond quickly to an incident. Ideally, the test should not be announced, so the activation process can also be tested. The effectiveness of the IRT and its related policies need to be measured. This is to ensure the IRT is achieving its stated goals. Measurement should be published annually with comparison to prior years. The measurement should include the goals in the IRT charter, plus additional analytics to indicate the reduction of risk to the organization. This might include number of incidents, number of repeat incidents, time to contain per incident, and financial impact to the organization. So in summary, you learned in this chapter what incident response policies are needed to respond effectively to security breaches. It's important that policies define what an incident is. You should also state clearly how to classify an event. You also learned how to build a team charter. The charter examined the difference between on-site response teams and teams that facilitate responses. The chapter discussed how key roles and responsibilities within a team during an incident. The charter discusses how incident plans are built, including the importance of the business impact analysis assessment. Additionally, the charter discusses an alignment between business impact analysis, business continuity plan, and disaster recovery plan policies. Chapter also examined typical procedure you should follow during an incident, examine key decisions that are needed at each step responding to an incident, includes containing the incident and gathering evidence. Chapter also discusses best practices and the importance of using outside firms to supplement organization skill set. Implementing well-defined incident response policy takes significant time and effort. However, the value in containing threats and limiting damage is an organization outweighs the costs. Thank you.